Hello, everybody. Let me just wait for a couple more faces to join in, and happy to start our August 19th webinar. We'll be covering a little more like a high level overview of mission control, jumping into some common benefits, talking about some pains that we were able to resolve, and just giving you kind of that first look into the system where I'll always be around to kind of answer any additional questions or our team will be able to support you. So. Let me just wait a couple more a minute or two here while everyone else trickles in. And let me open up my starter deck. Alrighty, so look, guys, quick introduction on my side. Look, my name is Julian. I am the global sales manager here at Mission Control. But I also do have my own book of business, so happy to help out where I can in terms of everything EU or Central or Eastern time. Looking forward to kind of giving you this high level overview of Mission Control. Obviously, we're a very robust solution, very highly modular, so. Keep in mind, this is just a general overview where we can be tailored and really kind of built out for specific use cases for specific industries as well. So to maybe just quickly jump into things, the high levels of the why Mission Control, why are we a leader in the space? Why do we have so many good reviews on the Salesforce App Exchange? First and foremost, we are 100% native to Salesforce, meaning we've been built into the Salesforce platform. Like you are not able to use Mission Control without using Salesforce. Like as a Mission Control user, you'll never need to sign into Mission Control. By signing into Salesforce, you have access to all of our objects and features, where and we share all the core benefits of Salesforce. So think of custom page layouts, workflows, being able to report on any data point you'll see. So even in today's demo, every data point you'll be seeing can be reported on within native Salesforce reporting. So again, all the core benefits of Salesforce are really mirrored in Mission Control. Think of us as almost like a layer of project management in your environment. Everything works out of the box, meaning we are a fairly robust solution. The goal isn't to upsell you on features over time. We have three major releases a year. We're heavily guided by feature requests from our customers. But keep in mind, we're also highly modular, which makes us very scalable. So let's say for phase one MVP, you might want to focus on um, certain features, or let's say you want to kind of just like have a little bit more blinders on. Hey, like this is what we need for day one. Whereas let's say as you grow and as your organization grows, as you grow with the solution, we're able to keep up with you and really help you scale over time. In terms of implementation, we do work with a slew of mission control partners. We have our own professional service team. We have an incredible amount of collateral online. So, in terms of let's say how we approach this, it's really case by case. But if let's say if we could kind of really work with you with as much or as little hand holding as possible. And our my only goal and our goal is for you to be successful with the platform, and we'll act accordingly to make sure that does happen. Which also speaks to kind of a lot of the collateral that we do have. Um, we do have amazing content online. So just under 700 knowledge-based articles. I think what we have our own proprietary learning portal where you become certified within Mission Control. We have videos about every object and feature within Mission Control. We have two webinars a month. We actually just started last quarter, and I think we'll be doing maybe next month or so. User group sessions where we meet up with a slew of other Mission Control users, and kind of try to engage in meaningful and thoughtful conversation. Which also speaks to kind of say the level of support we do have. So look, I'm personally based in Eastern Canada. Most of my success team is based in the US, although our headquarters is in Australia. So as close as possible to 24-hour support we do have. In terms of features and functionalities, look, at its core, what we are is a PSA. PSAs are professional service automation solutions, which really marry three ideas together: project management, resource management, and time. So historically, these would always be like essentially point solutions that you would just kind of manage through, try and manage and kind of do a lot of manual efforts, kind of making sure all of them are aligned. But luckily for us, we were able to kind of have them all live in the one location, which would be Salesforce, where you would be able to really go from lead, opportunity, quote, delivery, invoicing, cash, all in one solution. So, and as I mentioned earlier, look, we're highly modular. If certain bits and pieces here might not be important for you for day one, they're very easy to hide, which I'll be showing you as well, where you could kind of really have a much more tailored and focused experience for individuals, groups, and teams. Brief history on our organization. Look, we've been on the App Exchange for just around 15 years now. Our CEO and our CTO are the actual founders, meaning no part of our solution has ever been acquired. We're often growing, adding bits and pieces over time. Historically, look, we come. I guess our DNA comes, or our founders used to have their own Salesforce implementation firm where they were consultants and kind of they built this where you know like necessity breeds innovation where this solution has been spawned by our own needs and needs of let's say the market. So we're always growing, and we're always happy to share how we use the system as well. So above and beyond like our service team, I use this on the sales side, making sure my tasks from let's say closing win a deal to let's say implementation kickoff, making sure I've completed all the tasks in the meantime. We use this for onboarding employees, offboarding employees, control processes. Everything in your business can be um, everything in your business can be a project, and we're more than happy to share how we or maybe companies like yourself might be using it as well. In terms of proud logos we work with, we do have a slew of amazing customers. I do have some logos I'd love to share, but NDA says I can't. But just to show you that we do work with industry leaders, and I do have a slew of case studies to share as well. So, let's jump into the solution here. Again, look, if you have any questions, thoughts, ideas, please feel free to ask them in the chat. Hold on. I think there's a Q&A bit here. Sorry. Yeah, please feel free to ask them in the chat. I'll be looking every so often. If I don't get to it in today's call, please know that I will follow up with anybody who does send a message, making sure nothing falls between the cracks here. So with that being said, let me share my screen again here. Awesome. So this is Mission Control. It might look familiar because this is Salesforce. As I mentioned earlier, we're built one and the same. We are a series of custom objects that would live in your environment. As I mentioned earlier, we mirror and share the core benefits of using Salesforce. Like even right now, I'm on a dashboard. Dashboards can consist of up to 20 reports, historically only reporting on Salesforce kind of data points or whatever's in your system. But now that I've added Mission Control to this environment, all these reports, which are just, there's no separation between Mission Control reports and Salesforce reports. All these reports you see right here are basically reports that are using project management or resource data. So you are able to kind of build these dashboards that have, let's say, Salesforce reports, Mission Control reports, and have them all live together, where even some reports could have both Mission Control and Salesforce data points. You could also see that we seamlessly interact with a Salesforce environment. Like you see on the top bar here, we have dashboards, home, contacts, opportunities, accounts, leads. And then you start to see some mission control objects like projects, timesheet, scheduler, Gantt chart, meeting manager, and all of this fun stuff down here. Now, the idea is like that, like I mentioned earlier, the idea is no one needs access to everything you see here. What you really might want to do is let's say build out a more of a tailored view where building like even let's just say we share the core benefits to Salesforce even in terms of permissions and kind of being able to slice and dice and really guide users into their easiest day-to-day actions can be done. So you can see over here, and so instead of that long bar with like the near infinite amount of objects access, I just kind of tailored it so that I have access to projects, actions, dashboards, a whiteboard, and a Gantt chart. Really kind of building out a little bit more tailored view. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be launching a project from an opportunity, kind of showing you a quick and easy automation. This is all out of the box, by the way. Assume everything I'm showing you today is what you get when you download our package. If there's anything I speak to, if there's any questions that come up that basically ask for something a little bit more edge case, I will let you know that this is not part of our out of the box solution. But just assume everything I'm showing you today and right now is part of our out of the box solution. So, as I mentioned, I'll be showing you kind of, let's say, an automation from opportunity to project, going to the project. looking at different views within a project, Gantt chart, Kanban board, all that fun stuff. Then taking a step back and staffing the project, looking at kind of schedulers, more global views, maybe program levels, and then doing a little bit more on the resourcing and time side of things. The whole way through, they'll have some reports, dashboards, and you'll be seeing some pretty pertinent information for anybody running projects. But keep in mind, I won't be showing you the full solution today just because we don't want to run out of time, and I want to kind of just show you a little bit more of like the wow moments. So before I jump into the actual project side, I do want to do a quick fundamental here. Not KRJR. I want to do a quick fundamental here, going into my own role record, just because so everything makes a little bit more sense when I jump into it. So, what is a role? A role is an individual, someone who is assigned to a team, someone who basically can log hours, is essentially a resource. That they could be human and not human resources, which I'll go into in a bit. But let me jump into my own role record here. Like even in my own mission control environment, I don't have access to my own role record just because it's permission set up, so I can't even look at and I can't look at anybody else's kind of back end. But you are able to kind of give that access if you'd like to. So jumping into my own role record here, you can see I have my name, I have a title, I have a function. Going a little bit further down, you can see that I work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, which rolls up to 40 hours. I have my own target, which is 80%. This is important because on later views, you'll be see like heat map type pages where people might be in the green, might be in the red, might be in the yellow. It's all based on their own targets. So let's say if you have someone who's working part-time, working 20 hours a week, and you want their target to be 100%, their green, their red, their yellow will be very different than my own. I have my own cost rate, I have my own bill rate, that's just my own baseline one. Um, if I go into an actual project, I could, let's say, use rate cards, I could do blended rates, I could play around with some funky billing mechanisms here. I've been with Mission Control for roughly 3 years now. I've yet to come across a billing type that isn't matched within our out-of-the-box billing functions, and happy to speak to that in a bit. But the most important thing here that I wanted to really share into was, or is, my related records. So going into my own related records, you can see that I'm assigned multiple skills. Skills could be language, could be certifications, could be, there's no real limitations on how we like you to use skills. You could even, let's say, enrich your skills or qualify your skills with proficiency and enjoyment factor. The same thing goes for teams. You could be part of multiple team. Team could be geographic location, could be seniority. There really isn't any limitations there. But with these two related records, what you could do is, let's say when I'm staffing a job, I could look, hey, I need someone who speaks French and who lives in, let's say, Canada. These would be the basic type of filters you could play around with to identify who might be the best fit for a role. Um, Also, maybe taking a step back, let's say above and beyond an individual project. If I just want to look, hey, look, 6 months from now, what is my French speaking team in Canada? What is like what does the bench look like? This is where you'd be able to kind of really kind of filter and use this information to look at your bench appropriately. Lastly, we also have our own holiday object. Within your holiday object, you are able to submit time off. And the reason I'm even mentioning this is capacity and PTO are intimately connected. So, then there's also the question is, hey, look, Julian, we have our own external HR solution. We're not moving away from. How do we connect those? So this is going to be true to anything in terms of mission control connecting outwardly. Because we are 100% native to Salesforce, what you are able to do is um, leverage the Salesforce API. So there's a slew of middleware. If you connect the ADP or let's say Workday, middleware already connect, it's created. So you just might as well leverage that. If you are um, if you're curious, let's say build out your own bridge, you're more than able to do it. But that's going to be true to anything. Let's say connecting to accounting softwares or whatever it is. It's all through the Salesforce API. And luckily for us, the Salesforce has a super robust API. So we're never put in a situation where you aren't able to connect outwardly. But I think the goal with a lot of people I discuss is kind of how do you keep everything in Salesforce? So, which we'll be focusing on today. So with that being said, let's jump into creating a project. So yeah, like I said, everything's gonna be automated. We're gonna show you kind of the fun part of the bit here because it's okay. makes everyone's life a lot easier. But not everything needs to be automated. You are able to launch an ad hoc, create an ad hoc project on the go. Super easy to create. If you want to create, let's say, 4 milestones or add 5 milestones, you can just create them over here. Super easy to kind of create a project and jump into it from there. You're able to clone existing projects and kind of just jump into it that way. But let's say, as I said, let's jump into a standard Salesforce opportunity, which I've created for today. So yeah, this is a standard Salesforce opportunity. What I'll really be showing you here and what I'll be discussing is the handshake, the handoff between um, opportunities and projects. There are multiple ways for us to go about this. Um, there's even elements of this where we could kind of build some role forecasts that help for soft booking elements. But I'm just going to be kind of focusing on the meat and potatoes here and really kind of try and share the most of what get the most out of our time. In terms of how do we go from opportunity to project, one common way is that if you use products, or let's say if you have SKUs or CPQ products, what you are able to do is add project templates to those products or SKU or CPQ product. So think about what you'd be able to do is by adding multiple products to an opportunity, you'd be able to build a modular project. Or you might tell me, hey, Julian, I want those 4 products to be 4 separate projects. Totally fine as well. It's just more so how that's kind of in terms of the initial setup and what we decide. Or even for today's discussion, I want to keep it as simple as possible. I'm going to be going in and grabbing a project template, choosing a start date, generation method. There's a slew of generation methods, but let's just focus on opportunity and generate the project. So the point that's going to be like the point that's going to like generate a project from a template or like the catalyst of a project is one of these statuses. It doesn't necessarily need to be close one. In this environment, it is. But what you'll see here is by, let's say, by hitting either the quote stage or negotiation stage or one of these stages, and obviously you will obviously have your own, let's say, stages or vernacular here. By hitting one of these stages, it's going to generate the project. So you'll see over here, there are no projects that are created. By close winning this, a project will be spun. Now, in terms of these templates, they could be as granular and detailed as you need them to be. They could be agile with just a backlog and some sprint setups where you could just kind of quarterback some stories. Or they could be both. Or they could even be just like horizontal lines where hey, look, I need someone to log 30% of their time over the next 2 weeks, or someone to do, let's say, 100 hours over the next month, or whatever it is. And you could really get creative in terms of how these projects, templates look, feel, and live. So next step here, let's jump into the actual project right now. So this is our project. To speak to the hierarchy that we allow for in Mission Control, like our project hierarchy, we have a 7-layer project structure. The highest level is 2 layers above the project, which is portfolio management. Under portfolio, we can have programs. Under a program, that's when you find projects. So it's a one-to-many relationship where you find many projects related to a program and many programs related to a portfolio. Below a project, what you'll see is we have phases. Below a phase, you could have milestones. Below a milestone, you can have actions. And below an action, you can even have checklist items. Now, you don't need to use every one of these layers, but they are there for you to use if you'd like to use them. You can see within this template, I've also brought in some placeholder resources that are going to be working. So let's say I know I need a consultant for functional configuration between these dates, and they'll only be doing 8 hours. This whole page is highly customizable with settings, and you can kind of just show the right information that's important for you. Let me just take a little step back here. Okay. Hold on. So in terms of the project, there's many ways for us to actually look and interact with this project. Right now, we're looking at the overview type view, which gives us a lot of KPIs, a lot of rich information. But some people might want to be more, they might be more interested in, let's say, having more of a Gantt view, where it's timeline oriented, and you can really kind of, it's more of that 360 degree of a timeline, resource, and project looks like. So let's say if I zoom in over here. And then to speak to the hierarchy that I just spoke to. So we have our project. Under our projects, we have our phases. Under our phases, you could have milestones. Under our milestones, we could have actions. And under those, you could even have checklist items. Zooming in a little bit over here, just so we could kind of make sure there we go. what we see is I've also let's open up my baseline so we have visibility on baseline, and let's just say this functional configuration gets pushed out to the 27th. Because I built out these dependencies and they're super easy to build out, which can include, let's say, leads or lags. Let's say by moving this to the 27th, you'll see everything else gets pushed out in accordance because I have those dependencies, which maintains a project's critical path. Um, there's also ways we could add like layers of integrity to a critical path, like constraints or other bits of information, which let's say starting no later than, finish no earlier than, so on and so forth. So we have this over here. Everything here could be exported, PNG, CSV, PDF. You could import and export to Microsoft projects if ever needed. Um, but in terms of, let's say, this actual, how do you share this information outwardly? Let me just open up something here. How do you share this information outwardly? One of the best and easiest ways to do this, and it's fairly slick and basically takes all the project information or as much information that you decide and puts it into a easy to consume status report. So there's a project status report that basically at the click of a button, it's essentially a snapshot into a project where because this project doesn't have much information in it, I'm going to go grab another one that I built out that has every think of this, the one I'm showing you right now, is a full-fledged status report with every little bit of information that you would ever think of having. Um, so one of them is so basically, let's say you have a cover page, could be double white labeled. You're able to have a health check over here that could show what was accomplished this week, of observations, the plan for next week. You can have visibility into summary, like what's completed, what's overdue. You have that more of that visibility, more in a line like action. So as I said, like you could remove if there's certain checklist items or certain milestones, or if you just want to keep it at a certain level up or hide layer names here. This is fairly flexible, so think of this as like you're saving your team hours and maybe days a month by having this one click into project status report, giving you quick and easy access into kind of where a project is living. Scrolling down over here, you have our Gantt chart. This is basically just an injected Gantt chart into this view. We were able to include time logs, risks, issues, and all the information that you might want to keep in here. So, like if you're sharing this externally, you could easily filter bits and pieces here that you might not want to share internally, externally, versus if you were, let's say, using this as an internal tool, you could basically have this be fully transparent and share as much information as you want. So above and beyond that is a great way to kind of share project information. But what we also have within projects is something we call client read-only pages. So there's no license requirement for this. Everyone has access to this. Um, so every project has one of these read-only pages where you could choose which pieces of the project you want to include on this link. And this link basically is a real-time visibility solution into a project. So like on the PDF, basically, so whenever you download the PDF, that's the content that's going to live on the PDF. This, on the other hand, if you share this once with a client, they will have access to basically the timeline of a project. So if things shift, move around, it's always real time and they have access to that information. Again, this could be used internally, externally. I've seen this be kind of leveraged in multiple ways, even changing the information over time. So this could be a super helpful solution. Now, going into, let's say, in terms of collaboration on the like full extreme side of things, we do work well with Experience Cloud. So let's say if everything I'm showing you today in Mission Control can be expressed in Salesforce Experience Cloud. So you're able to really kind of cherry pick modules or widgets and just really kind of have that personalized experience for your customers if needed. Now, going back into our project over here, let's say if Gantt charts aren't your thing and you really want to have a little bit more of a status view, Kanban board would probably be your best friend, where you could have visibility into, let's say, hey, what are the status of different actions? Hey, I want to move this over if needed. What you can see is who's working on what, what are priority actions, really kind of being able to slice and dice into a project as needed. Now, uh, both the Kanban board and the Gantt chart are available globally and at higher levels as well. So if you want to have, let's say, which I'll show you in a bit later, but let's say you could have a global Gantt chart where you could see pretty much your whole organization and filter between different types of projects, or do a global Gantt chart, global Kanban board, and really kind of look at, hey, I just want to see my team of developers or whatever. Really kind of being able to slice and dice as required. Billing, I'll get into in a bit. We're able to also manage risks and issues. The language used here, risks are things that can happen, issues are things that are happening. Issues can be qualified. Issues can be assigned an owner, start date, end date. You can provide assessments, countermeasures, and worst case scenario, let's say if everything goes fails, you could promote the risk from the risk log to an issue log. We could also manage expenses let's say at the action level. You could have material costs. You could also have POs, and also like log expenses directly to a project. Quick and easy, very quick and easy. This could be connected to your ERP if needed as well. We also have a list action pad, which is basically think of this as like a glorified list view, where you could, let's say individuals just have access to, hey, what's completed, what's overdue. This could only show my actions as well, so you could use this as needed. What we also have is a great way to kind of just look into, um, let's say, just project level reporting, which we have our insights over here. Um, so we have our insights, which is essentially just reports. You could add or you could remove these as needed. We have the SPI and CPI index, which show you if you're on time and on budget. And there's a lot of, let's say, pertinent information there that basically you don't need to set this up. Just come with our solution, and basically just so it's very easy to use. Now, jumping back into our project over here, let's talk about staffing. How do we put named users onto a project? Um, there's a few ways around this. If you tell me, hey, look, I want this to be as automated as possible, hands off, I just want it to be done for me, which is why we have our full auto assignment wizard. This allows you to use weighting criteria like skill, team, proficiency, whatever it is, and it can either just make a recommendation or fully auto assign for you based on different weighting actions. So what that's going to do is pretty much just um, allow you to kind of say leverage resource information and for having to make an informed decision on who might be the best fit for a role. We also do have, let's say, a very standard resource request flow where if you just want to have a backlog of resource requests where an individual goes through them and just bangs them out, that's fine as well. We have that. But let's say if you want to have a little bit more control on it at the project level, something we have that we do get a lot of positive feedback from is our resource assignment wizard. This resource assignment wizard will will pop up right here and will give you kind of, let's say, view into those sets of criteria. Like I could filter here by skill, by team, whatever it is, and then what it's going to do is give me give me a view into my bench where, let's say, Alana, you can tell she's booked. Colin, who's our CEO, is working 3,000 hours a week, which makes sense. But let's say I want to put Jason onto this one, and I want to put Bethany as the contributor. So in terms of how this works, the initial owner will take the hours. Let's say I put Bethany as a contributor. You could add or move this as needed. Let's say you have the 4 hours here. I want to give Bethany 2 hours. You'll see that those hours have moved around, so there's no need to double repeat. So this is a great way to look into your bench and really make an informed decision on who has the best skills, most time, and is part of the best team for to be working on an individual action. Now, let's say now that we've staffed the project, let's say project ready to go live. But before we could do that, we might have, let's say, a stage gate or a stage or a milestone that needs to be completed before moving forward. In this environment, let's say in this project, this template, what I've done is I've created a kind of a billable milestone based on signature. So once we get that signature, we're able to kick off the project and we're able to also invoice for $5,000. Now, in terms of how do we make money off projects? Every project is able to have its own billing type, like fixed fee, T&M, fixed fee plus expenses, control the milestone, deposits or retainers. So let's say what's going to happen is whenever a certain event happens, let's say if you're doing T&M, it might be every 2 weeks, gather all the time logs and invoice them. It creates a billing event. Or let's say just to kind of keep it as simple as possible for today's discussion, you'll see over here, if I go into billing, there are no billing events that have been created. Going back into my project, I'll see the signature. So once this signature gets completed, you could do it through the Kanban board or wherever you wish. Once this gets completed, Um, what we'll see is basically it creates a billing event. Now, what you choose to do with that event is completely up to you. It could be notifying your account teams that basically, hey, we have something ready to be billed. If you have Mission Control connected to, let's say, Accounting Seed or QuickBooks or another ledger, you could push that information accordingly. But basically, what we're doing is like Mission Control is not a ledger. Mission Control is not an ERP. But what Mission Control does is we are able to create a lot of billing information. And with that billing information, you're able to really make the most out of your projects and make sure you're tying in project events to invoice dates. This alone, I'm able to kind of speak hours on. There's even another slew of tabs here, which I could have added like revenue recognition or different views that could have kind of given me a little bit deeper view into financials. But that just show you kind of the flexibility in our system and how really could be tailored for the individuals, groups, and teams. Now that let's say we've staffed the project, we've kicked off the project, it might be time for someone to log time to a project. In terms of, let's say, throughout the product, you will always be seeing these hour faces. They exist, let's say, on the Gantt chart, on the Kanban board, on the action pad. They exist everywhere. Anytime you click into one, it will allow you to. It could when you this is for logging time. What you could do is qualify your time log. You are able to force notes on a time log as well. You could say, hey, I worked 4 hours here, put some notes, and log your time. Or you can use like a stopwatch functionality, really depending on whatever flow makes the most sense for you. Just as much as you have these everywhere in the product, you also have our global action button. So no matter where you are always able to log time appropriately. As much as we love these cool and innovative ways to log time, realistically, the way everyone is going to log time is through a timesheet. So, your hours you've been scheduled to will populate directly onto a timesheet, which will look something like this. Um, so basically, you see over here, let's say these are some projects I've been assigned to. You see that I've been assigned 4 hours a day on this project, and let's see these ones 5 hours on those days. You see they're billable. Actions within a project could be billable or not billable. Even projects themselves could be billable, non-billable. And even to log time here, hey, at the end of the week, I just want to put, hey, I put my 4 hours. Let me force my notes. Worked on X, Y, Z, and then save and submit it over here. You could also have, let's say, like non-billable buckets. Let's say if you have admin, travel, whatever it is, just to make sure all your time is logged and visible here. We are able to have approval processes, so you can mass approve or reject, and kind of give reasoning for that to make sure you have kind of validated all those time logs. You're also able to push in time logs from calendars from Google or Outlook. Would require the connector there, but it's a pretty neat feature and functionality. Now that we've logged time here, well, something I do like to do is maybe go one step above the above the project, which is a program. So this is, I mentioned earlier, basically it's a one-to-many relationship where many projects could be related to a program. Let's say jumping into my program over here, you see that basically this has been assigned to multiple projects. I have program level reporting where you're able to see, let's say, that kind of reporting at a program level, so kind of group project reporting. You are also able to kind of view it within a Gantt chart. Now, what's cool about the Gantt chart is just as within a project, you're able to have dependencies, you are also able to have inter-project dependencies as well, kind of building reliance between separate projects. So let's say if you have a group of projects, an institutional contract, whatever it is, you will be able to build dependencies between those separate projects directly within mission control. So let's say right now you can see the purple are individual projects, the blues are milestones, and then this is me connecting milestones from separate projects and having them be dependent on each other. Um, what we also have visibility is into our whiteboard as well. Kind of let's say just as much as at the project level, you can have, let's say, amongst all these projects, this shows you, hey, let's say what's in progress, what's submitted for review, what are the priority actions, what's medium, why is that medium? Really being able to slice and dice this between individual groups and teams. This all still lives on, say, more global views like a Gantt chart. This is a global Gantt chart. Think of this as a Gantt of Gantt. So across all your projects, something that could be super helpful and useful as well. Um, where you are able to slice and dice as required. Let's say filtering by different projects, teams, whatever it is. Where are we here, by creating a filter and being able to kind of even have preset filters as well. The same type of visibility, the kind of global visibility is available at a whiteboard level. And in terms of, let's say, these more global views, I was showing you a lot within, let's say, the projects that action-oriented views. Something I do like to speak to is our scheduler. Think of the scheduler as a resource planner meets a Gantt chart that has some functionality that could be very useful to teams. Like I wouldn't suggest giving everyone access to this because this is where it could get a bit confusing. But you have visibility onto, let's say, you could have, let's say, just high level views of, let's say, what people are working on, just in terms of hours complete, let's example, what's billable, non-billable, or you're able to really see what individuals are working on. So you can see Alana over here. She is, um, she is basically out of office between these days. But let's say when I know she gets back, she might want to work on this project. So you can move dates, move actions from within an individual's timeline. You can even move it between different people on different teams. So you have full control on moving actions around from day to day, from person to person, from team to team, and really kind of having that kind of that one-stop shop to look at the calendar and say, hey, who's working on what, and maybe I prefer this person working on that, and really having that full freedom and flexibility here from one page. And even in terms on the resourcing side, we have standard resource planner. These are just kind of what you would expect from a PSA solution, where you could look into groups, teams, capacity, and there's even some visualizations here that could be super helpful. Understanding, let's say, what's been booked, what's available, and what's forecasted as well. So having visibility on soft bookings could be super helpful here, and I know it's super helpful here for a lot of teams once it decides to open up here. So in terms of mission control, it's really kind of what I was hoping to get through today. We have a new feature that's being released as part of our August release, which I'd like to maybe speak a little bit to as well. So let me so right now, mission control lives in Salesforce, and it does live in Salesforce. It's not going to go live anywhere else. Mission control will remain as a Salesforce native solution. But something cool that we just released is being able to use Mission Control headlessly through Slack and soon Teams. Here, let me share my screen. So right now, let's say the backend infrastructure of Mission Control lives in Salesforce, but you might have individuals who live in Slack, and basically you might want to log time, view status reports, interact with projects directly within Slack. So this is something we've created and will be available. I think it might be available right now, for everyone. So how this works is basically you have all your channels are essentially different projects, and then what you're able to do within these channels are actions like log time, add action, create an issue, add a requirement, add a request, add a risk, and there's a slew of features and functionalities here that could be super helpful. So let's say if I am looking to log time, a component will jump up, and then basically I could pick and choose. I could log time directly from Slack that will push headlessly into Mission Control. This is where we see the future of Salesforce and the future of, let's say, project management heading, where basically you have, because the backend architecture infrastructure is required for that granularity that we've built out over time, and to really make sure you have all the information needed. But how you interact with that, how you surface it, that's kind of, say, where things are changing, and something where we're super excited about because this is something we use internally, and I know a lot of organizations will use this as well. As I mentioned, right now this is only available in Slack, but this will be available shortly, I believe in a month or two, within Teams for everyone to use, and which we are super excited about. So yeah, just to kind of, let's say, leave that as a little bit of a carrot there, and also in terms of, let's say, if you are doing some self-learning, something I do like to share on these webinars is kind of where all of our content and collateral live. So going on aprika.com/support, what you'll have access to is all of our training videos, knowledge base, user guide. Um, If you want to create a ticket and speak with our team, you could do it directly here. So all this information is there for you to use as you need. Above and beyond that, we as an organization, our success team, our sales team, our leadership, we're always there to answer any questions, thoughts, ideas you might have, to making sure that nothing falls between the cracks. Um, I think everyone has access to my email, but my email is julian.ricciardi at aprika.com. Please feel free to reach out my way with any thoughts, questions, ideas. We're more than happy to help out however we can. Now, with that being said, I'm looking for Cosmo, which I can't find them. With that being said, I wish everyone have a fantastic day. I hope to hear from you all soon, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers. Have a great one, guys. Bye bye.